This alien girl would have been ripped to shreds by alien beasts if not for the human. The jungle of Khazareth never slept. Even under the pale shimmer of its twin moons, predators prowled between the roots of titanic trees, their glowing eyes watching for anything small, weak, or alone. Elira had been all three. Her people had abandoned her. She had lagged behind during the caravan's march, her ankle twisted after slipping on wet roots. They had heard her cries, but no one had stopped. No one dared risk slowing the herd down in territory where the beasts ruled the night. Now, every shadow moved with fangs. She stumbled forward, clutching her shoulder where a claw had already grazed her skin. Her gown, ceremonial and utterly useless in the wild, was torn and muddied. Her kind prided themselves on beauty and poise, not survival. Elira's lungs burned as she tried to run, her ears catching the low growls closing in. Then came the heavy panting, the smell of wet fur. She turned just as the first beast lunged, for legs coiled with muscle, head lined with knife-like horns, eyes glowing a cold, merciless green. Its roar shook the ground. Elira screamed and fell back, certain this was the end. But another sound cut through the night. A sharp crack, followed by a streak of fire that split the air. The beast howled as a bolt of plasma slammed into its chest, hurling it back into the brush. Elira's eyes darted to the source. A human. He stood tall, armored only in scavenged plates and leather, a weapon braced against his shoulder. His chest rose and fell with deliberate calm, as if he'd been expecting the fight. Moonlight caught in his dark hair, his face grim and sharp, jaw clenched as he turned his sights on the next beast. Two more emerged from the undergrowth snarling. The human moved like lightning. Another blast from his rifle, then a knife flicked from his hand into the throat of the second. The third charged, but he pivoted, drew a short blade from his hip, and met it head-on. They tumbled into the mud, snarls and grunts mixing as claws scraped metal. Elira pressed her trembling hands to her mouth, unable to look away. The human shoved his elbow into the beast's throat, teeth bared with effort. With a guttural shout, he drove his blade under its jaw. The creature went limp. Silence returned, broken only by Elira's shaking breath. The man wiped blood from his blade and rose. His dark eyes found hers. "You shouldn't be out here," he said flatly, voice hoarse but steady. Elira flinched at the harshness. Her people rarely spoke to humans except to order them about. But right now, she couldn't bring herself to sneer or command. She was alive because of him. I was left behind," she admitted, her voice cracking. His eyes flicked to her torn gown, then to the blood at her shoulder. "Figures. They don't care if you live or die, do they?" Elira bit her lip, shame burning in her chest. Her kind valued strength in politics and elegance in court, but not the clumsy, not the weak. She had always been the extra, tolerated only because of her family's rank. And now she was nothing. The human didn't press further. He simply turned and began walking. "Come on. Unless you want the rest of the pack to finish what those three started." Elira hesitated. Following a human? It was beneath her. But her legs trembled, and the growls in the distance reminded her how fragile her pride was compared to sharp claws. She hurried after him. They trekked through the jungle, his pace steady, hers faltering. She stumbled on roots more than once, each time catching herself with a wince. The human never reached to help her, never slowed for sympathy, but he adjusted his path, choosing ground that was easier to cross. Eventually, they reached a small camp. A fire crackled within a ring of stones, the glow pushing back the darkness. Supplies lay neatly stacked, weapons cleaned and lined with care. He gestured for her to sit. She obeyed without protest. Her body ached, her ankle throbbed, and the adrenaline had drained from her veins. He knelt beside her, producing a small kit. "Let me see your shoulder." She stiffened. "You would touch me?" His eyes hardened. "If I don't, you'll bleed out or rot with infection by morning. Your choice." Her pride screamed to refuse. But pain pulsed through her shoulder, and she remembered the beast's claws, filthy and jagged. Slowly, she let him move the fabric aside. His touch was efficient, not lingering, not reverent. He cleaned the wound with practiced ease, bound it tight, and sat back. "There," he said simply. Elira stared at him. "Why did you save me?" He met her gaze, and for the first time, there was something softer behind the hardness. "Because you were about to die. And I don't like watching anyone die if I can stop it. Even me? Even one of my kind?" His mouth twitched into something between a grimace and a smirk. "Especially you. I've seen what your people do. They treat you like decoration until you stumble, then they toss you aside. Doesn't sit right with me." Elira's throat tightened. No one had ever spoken of her life so plainly. No one had cared enough to notice. "You're strange," she whispered. "And you're alive." He leaned back, staring at the flames. "That's all that matters tonight." The hours passed slowly. Distant roars echoed, but none came near the firelight. Elira sat wrapped in a blanket he tossed her, its roughness unfamiliar against her delicate skin. She studied him quietly. His scars spoke of countless battles. His hands were steady, his gaze always scanning, never resting too long. Humans were supposed to be weak, primitive, yet he had felled beasts that could shred 3 of her guards. Finally, she found her voice. "What is your name?" "Darren." I know who you are," he interrupted. "Elira, the forgotten daughter of House Tavan. They spoke of you when I worked near the palace. Said you were clumsy, unworthy." Her cheeks flushed. She wanted to deny it, but what was the point? He knew the truth already. "And yet," he added, meeting her eyes again, "you're still here, still breathing. That's worth something." Elira's heart skipped. No one had ever said her survival meant anything. At dawn, mist curled through the trees. Darren packed his things with efficient movements, dousing the fire. "What will happen to me?" she asked, voice small. "That depends," he said without looking at her. "You can go back to them. They'll pretend they're glad you survived, then forget you all over again. Or, she pressed, leaning forward. He slung his pack over his shoulder and gave her a long, steady look. "Or you can come with me. Learn how to survive, how to fight, how to be more than what they told you to be." Elira's breath caught. The thought of leaving her people was unthinkable, yet the thought of returning to them felt heavier, suffocating. She glanced at the jungle beyond, where beasts prowled unseen. She remembered his blade flashing in the moonlight, his steady hands binding her wound. Slowly, she stood, pain still in her ankle, but a new steadiness in her heart. "I will come with you." Darren gave a single nod. No smile, no triumphant words, just acceptance. As they set out into the wild, Elira cast one last glance at the jungle that had nearly killed her. This alien girl would have been ripped to shreds by its beasts, if not for the human who chose to stand between her and death. And perhaps, she thought as she limped at his side, this was not the end of her story, but the beginning.